Welcome to the Hoops Official. It's a monthly newsletter for basketball referees and fans, and now it's also a podcast. So I'm a referee in Helsinki since 2020. My name is Tuberg. I'm the kind of the man behind the platform. I'm a long-term basketball player, and needless to say, I love this sport. I created this platform back in February so that I understand the sports, learn, study, and perform better. And I invite all the referees to participate to me in this journey. On that note, today I'm having a conversation with Ville Selkee, which is, I believe, one of the top referees Finland have ever produced. First of all, welcome to Hoops Official, and thanks for taking part in this, Ville.
Thank you, and thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here. Looking forward to a discussion.
Yes, let's get it started. So you're now 31 years old. Sorry to leave with that, but I think it's quite relevant because you have been refereeing for 16 years. You started at the age of 15, and you have been refereeing in the Finnish top flight since when you were 19. So since 2011, you have 500 games almost in your belt, under your belt in Korisliiga. You've been selected 4 times, the referee of the year. And you have also refereed in FIBA tournaments, including Basketball Champions League between 2018 and 2021. So how did this journey started? And I'm also curious because when we had a preparation call, I realized that you're really passionate about refereeing. You have such an energy when you talk about, how your career started and how is it going. So where does that passion come from, and how Ville Selkee become the top referee that he is today?
Well, if we go all the way back, so first of all, I believe that basketball chose me in a way that my parents, my dad and my mom, have been strongly involved in basketball basically all their lives, and so when I was a kid, my mom used to play at the top level, and my dad used to coach in the top level in Finland. So basically, I've been around basketball gyms and arenas in Finland. I was living in Nokia most of my childhood days. So I played in Nokia all the way up when I was 18. And during the last few seasons when I was still playing, I started also refereeing. My mom had changed her career to refereeing, and obviously I saw quite closely how great is to transform from a player to a referee. And one particular moment was when I was something like 17 or 18 years old, and I was hesitating or whether I should keep on playing or refereeing. And there was a refereeing legend, Jorma Ovaska, at that time, like 15 years ago, who was really coaching the young referees in Finland. And he came to me and said that, Ville, I've been watching you playing, and I've been watching you refereeing, and you're not gonna make any good player, but as a referee you might have something. So I credit to Jorma for saying in his own style the things what he really thought, and maybe that was kind of one of the major impacts that made me chose the path of a referee.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that Jorma was brutally honest, and then maybe it was a good thing,
Yeah,
but like we know what we know.
But like I said to you, I still sometimes joke around that I could still play, but in all honesty, I haven't played a game since, well, many years. So it would be quite horrible, I believe.
You talked about now the being a player versus being a referee, and maybe I ask a follow-up question about that, because I have been a player for as long as I remember. I started when I was 7, 8, similar age, and I played actively till a couple of years ago. And when transitioning the refereeing, it's a for me, it wasn't at least a very smooth transition, in the sense that because in the refereeing world, there's a lot of details that as a player you don't really pay attention to. There's a lot of moment in basketball, you ask, like, why did referees call this? And it's maybe a knowledge as a player, as a coach, as a fan, you don't keep up with. So how was it for you? Because you did that early on, not at the late stage of basketball playing career. How does that transition for you?
What I remember from my last moments as a player, I remember that I had already started seeing the game as a referee. So I, as a player, I was mad if the referees didn't do good job in the game,
Right.
or if their attitude was wrong. I was kind of, and I was thinking pretty often that, oh damn, I could be much more better referee than those two or three, maybe mostly two are. So that was kind of my thinking process inside my head already when I was at the age of 17 or 18, and that kind of, so maybe I had started the transition already when I was playing, so it was quite smooth at the end of the day, I believe. But one thing that comes from maybe from my personality, which was a kind of thing I needed to kind of pull behind me, was kind of, or how you say, burden, maybe, was that the I'm as a person outside of the court, I'm quite empathic, meaning that for me it's easy to feel sorry for someone or something like that. And as a referee, that was kind of challenge that I needed to get rid of, that I cannot be apologizing or like I need to accept the role and be sometimes the tough guy, and that's it. So that was maybe the biggest challenge for me, to really accept the role of being the one who is in charge sometimes.
And what you said about this being empathic and being authoritative is very interesting, and I think a lot of referees would struggle with that. How do you find that balance? They respect you, but at the same time they come talk to you because we want that.
Well, that's like a never-ending story. You need to keep on battling with that. So one of the topics which we discussed previously before this call was kind of the communication on the court, and the in-game communication it's art, I would say. So there are so many things you need to consider. First of all, people are expecting that the referees are in charge of the game, but at the same time, everyone is teaching the referees to be approachable, be like the players say that, yeah, I respect the referees who I can talk with, but at the same time, when you need to be approachable and you need to be in charge, then comes the kind of, you need to find a balance, because at the end of the day, you cannot be talking all the time. There needs to be also certain limits how you've been approached, how the players can talk to you, in which situation, and so on. So it's a balance, and maybe the one thing to add to that is that what I hear so much, not only towards me, but someone is saying about my colleagues, is that someone is being arrogant. And that is kind of the thing where you really need to be really sensitive to find the balance. How do you show confidence and being in charge, and how do you become and when do you become cocky or arrogant? And that is a really tiny difference between those two, and there I would call it as an art, because you need to really keep working with that. You need to know the people, you need to know the atmosphere, you need to know the game overall, and yeah, as you asked the initial question, that how did I find a balance, I haven't find it. I keep trying to find it.
Yeah, it's a kind of game by game basis.
Absolutely.
Who you're dealing with, players, coaches, the tension in the game, the fans.
If we compare, for instance, Korisliiga finals, which now just 2 weeks ago was played, or when we were playing them, it's totally different. When everyone is so amped up, they are really they are ready to battle. Their emotions are running really high. The way you communicate, and also the fans are really loud. So it's totally different than, let's say, November Wednesday game. No spectators. People are also, the players are a bit not so amped up. It's totally different. And then comes the kind of the sense what you need to have about the communication, and yeah, it's totally different game then.
But let's break that down a little bit then. So you have these high tension games, where a lot of stuff at stake, and then you have these, regular season games where maybe not a lot of things at stake. So things are a little bit calmer. Do you have like different personas? Like, one of them you have more on the authoritative side, and the other one you have more, the approachable side. What kind of roles you take in those games? For example, in a high tension game, would you rather see yourself, making sure that nobody act, in a way that triggers the fans who are already amped up, so you're more kind of, authoritative, or more calm so that you calm the players down? So what is your approach?
Well, if we take one step backward, so the main approach for a referee, or the role what the referees are there to do is that we are there to de-escalate the problem. So we should not be the ones who put the fuel to the fire. Instead, we need to be kind of the firefighters who kind of throw the water into the fire. So that's kind of the basic setup in every game. And then comes the tools. Of course, if you have loud fans and you have really focused teams on the court, then I would say less is more. Then it's about making the correct calls, trying to be as kind of cool down as you can, and then most of the communication happens then without words. It's non-verbal. So then comes in the rule that maybe most of us know, that the communication is mostly non-verbal. It's based. It varies between the studies, but it has been said like over 90%, even over 95% of the communication is non-verbal. So it's about the signals, facial expressions, and your body posture, not the words what you say. Right. That's maybe the thing.
You're saying that, but I've heard through these referee circles that you're among the referees who likes to communicate a lot on the court.
Yeah. Okay. So then when you can't avoid any more discussions, so then I would say that there are like two things. What I would personally do is that there are times when you need to be active and start communicating, and in my opinion, that you need to have like you really need to sense the game, sense the players, and what is like a cooking, where is happening, what is going to happen next. And if you see that there is a player getting frustrated for his teammates or because of my teammate, it's good to go before it boils over. So you go and ask, for instance, if it's an American player or Canadian player or not Finnish player, you go and ask, and hey, what's up? How are you doing? Right. Like a normal question, and then they might blah 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 blah. They might say something, and then you just say, "Yeah, I hear you," or you might say, "I feel you." Hey, just keep playing. We have 2 minutes to finish the quarter, or something like that. And that is, in my mind, the way to throw the water to the fire. Right. That's like the when you need to go in, and then when someone approaches you, this is the thing what I still try to learn, even though I have had those games which you listed in the beginning of the call. I'm still trying to learn, and maybe this is the reason I'm still young at age 31. So maybe this is the reason I haven't learned this yet, and so this is why I need to keep on going for one more season. Is that when someone approaches you, listen. So you need to listen, not be the first one to say, yeah, I know. But really listen what the one who comes to you to say. Then when you really pay attention what they are saying, through the experience, you will see that are they just protesting, or are they just that they are really genuinely asking something? And quite soon you can start directing the conversation. If they don't understand, if they are hesitating, ask a question. With the question, you will lead the conversation to the direction which you are willing to have. And if it's just the plain protesting, you can just ignore it. Say sometimes, yeah, I hear you, let's go. Or then you have the warnings or technical fouls or whatever. But that's kind of how I would divide those two. Sometimes you need to go actively in. Right. Or especially if we need to give official warning to someone, you need to go actively in. But then there are times when you just need to be the guy who receives some complaints or information or questions, and then it's about listening and asking the questions, kind of giving the floor to the one who approaches you, in my opinion.
Like I sometimes people ask me how is refereeing like, and one of the answers I gave them is like being a therapist. You know, you need
Yes.
to listen to emotionally frustrated
Yes.
people and just ask them questions so that they actually sometimes figure the answers themselves or together with you in a way.
Yeah. In
But
Finnish, we have much more bad word for that, but I'm not
yeah.
gonna say it here. So,
All right.
but that's exactly. So sometimes you just need to take it.
Yeah.
You take it for a while, and then the game goes on. Everyone is happy, and it looks
Right.
good outside. So that's maybe the last thing that to add to that is that the bigger the arena is, and the more noisy it gets, it's more about how things looks outside. You know, we might have in the past. I had a BCL game.
Yeah.
And the coach. It was the end of the game. The coach really threw me under the bus.
Yeah.
And they were losing the game. It was a noisy arena. The fans were celebrating. They were enjoying that the home team was winning. And I just took it. I still do. Still today, after 4 years, I remember exactly what the coach said.
Yeah.
I never hit him with a tee. I could have thrown him out. I didn't do anything. I just took it. And no other, only two of us know what he said.
Right.
But that's sometimes being the therapist.
Right.
Yeah.
He just let him boil over, and then
exactly
the game moved on from there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is in a way. I mean, very interesting being a referee, because on the other side of this, like, referees are humans and also, you know, vulnerable to emotions and, you know, whatever happening in the surroundings as well.
Yeah.
So it is sometimes, especially if you're early in your career, and that happened to me back in the day as well, I would say a couple of years ago. And then now we are talking very high level, and that's why I want to ask this one last question about the communication.
Yep.
If, you know, anybody early on in their career listening to this would actually also get something very applicable. When is the time to, like, you mentioned this a little bit, but imagine a 13-year-old girls final, 13-year-old girls regular season game, and you call something, and then there's the multiple coaches in the bench. Usually, you know, it's not just one, it's like always multiple. So there's this really large process, and, you know, disbelief, you know, this gasp of disbelief, like, how is this possible? You know, it's almost like belittling, like, you know, undermining the decision you made. So this happens quite a lot based on my experience. Like, when is the time to interfere? When is the time to just ignore and move on? Because you don't want to risk giving approval of that kind of behavior either, I assume.
Well, especially when you are in the young or early stages of your career, you're still building up the standards. And the standards, what I mean with that is that every referee needs to have certain kind of a standards that this is unacceptable no matter what. Okay, the example what I said about the coach who threw me under the bus, this is kind of exception. Sometimes you need to be smart and read the game and so on. So, but the standard must be so that this is the behavior what I don't tolerate. And we have different approaches. Some referees are more talkative. Some referees are more running the game through their whistle. And you need to kind of find your own persona, I would say. That and how do you find it? You take risks, you try, you are brave, and you go out there and you try things. I've done really a lot that copy and paste tactic in my early years as a referee. That I saw that Oleg Zlatisevs was doing this, or I saw some NBA referee doing this, or I saw even a football referee how they gave out a warning for a player.
Right.
And I tried to do that in a first division game in U17 once.
Right.
I was trying for a player that, hey, come here. Out of the crowd, and it's enough. And everyone was like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
It's about taking the risks, but also be yourself. Don't copy and paste. Oleg Zlatisev is a great referee because he has his own style, but Ville Selkee cannot be Oleg Zlatisev's,
Right.
That's kind of the way.
It's very interesting. A bit side question, just to follow up on this. Do you find that exercise a useful one? Watching other referees and not copy pasting, but learning from how they behave. Okay, so you recommend?
Yes, absolutely. I still do that. So I still have my fanboy moments with certain NBA referees, with certain EuroLeague referees, the guys I really look up into. Because I like how they act on the court, how they communicate, and especially how they handle situations under the pressure. Everyone can be a good referee when everything is running smoothly, but when the shit hits the fan, then it's about who is really going to be a good referee and who is going to be an excellent referee.
Right. Well, I mean, thanks, Ville. This communication bit has been very useful to me, and I'm sure anybody who's going to listen to this. I want to kind of summarize this bit. I have some more questions and some more things to learn from you. So if I go back to what you have said in the beginning of this conversation, is that referees are there to de-escalate. That's the kind of the basis on which we operate. Then we need to read the game and try to prevent, so be preventative, so not interfere when things already boiled over, but rather sense the game, go to players, go to coaches, and try to hear what they have to say, and have a conversation with them before things escalate.
Not too much, but in a right moments. We are not
right moment, right dosage.
Yes.
All right. And then the other thing that you said, if somebody comes to you, just listen first. See what they are saying. Sometimes you gotta take in what they say, the protest, but sometimes you have to direct the conversation so that they find their own answers. And finally, if I remember right, you have to have a persona, like your own persona in terms of communications, which still can change based on the level, the intensity, the tension within the game, right?
Yeah. If I could add one thing, is because we were talking about the communication, and it's so much about the non-verbal stuff. And about this copy paste. So we have been for the latest years, we have had latest seasons. One thing that has been increasing, all the referees are doing this when they communicate. That now it shows that you cross your arms, you are like this, and you cover your mouth even, which is really bad because you shouldn't cover your mouth. People should be able to read your lips, for instance.
Right.
So I don't know why some referees are doing all the time this. Does it make them more in charge, more approachable? I don't know.
Wow. Maybe that's their listening face. It's like
but less mannerism is more. So no manners. Official signals. Be open to the dialogue, and then with your other behavior, you show that you are in charge and you are listening. So less manners, no copy pasting. Be yourself, and that's it.
Awesome. Those are great tips, and I'm looking forward to the new season to apply some of those already. So moving to the communication bit came naturally as part of the initial conversation, and I'd like to take a step back, maybe go back to pre-game. So what happens in the pre-game for you? Do you have any rituals? How do you prepare for a game? Obviously, there are FIBA recommendations as to what you need to converse with your referee, pairs, etc. What does it look like for you?
Well, on an individual level, because that's at the end of the day only thing what you can control as a referee is what you do yourself. So naturally, it's a big difference whether you have the game on Wednesday or whether you have it on Saturday, or whether you have the game here in Finland or whether you have game in Europe as a FIBA referee. But if we anticipate we are in Finland and we have the game, let's say on Wednesday, so then it's about finding the routines, even though you are working, so that it starts from the really basics that at home you do the packing in the night before, that you are sure that you have everything with you, because that's part of being professional. No matter what is your level, that you have everything with you. So I'm really scared all the time that when I leave home, that whether I have everything. But so that's why it's good to pack before the day before even, and then arriving to the gym. So in my mind, it's good to know that who are you working that day. So the game plan and the pre-game meeting shall be kind of adjusted so that you get the most out of the trio or the colleague if you're working with the two official mechanics.
Yeah.
But so you need to kind of, if you don't know your partner from the past, ask what kind of games he or she has had, how many years, what are the strengths, weaknesses. So you need to kind of get to know who are you working with tonight. Right. Then the more you know, some of the referees are my best friends. My best man in the upcoming wedding is one of the Korisliiga referees, so I know him pretty well and he knows me pretty well. So that's totally different ball game than when we go together to the game, because I know from his facial expressions already that how is he feeling during the game. So that's totally different. And if I talk, for instance, from Korisliiga perspective or FIBA game perspective, it's mostly about scouting the teams before the game. So we need to know the personnel we are working with, not only our own crew, but the players and the coaches. And that's the most time what we spend is to speak what kind of players, what kind of matchups we have, where we need to succeed, and what kind of criteria for certain matchups we need to set that we're going to have a beautiful and flowing game. That's it. So at certain level, we shouldn't be talking about mechanics or some individual officiating techniques before the game. Of course, that happens sometimes, but mostly it's about the players and the coaches, what we discussed before the game.
Right. So you go into quite a bit of detail as to even like what kind of matchups and what kind of criteria for those specific matchups you are going to uphold throughout the game, which is again a nice segue to the criteria question. How do you make sure? Obviously, you cannot make sure that it's the same throughout the game, but then how do you deal with when it derives from what you initially agreed upon?
How do you keep the consistency? So this is yet again, it depends so much on whether you are having a playoff series, best of 7. It's quite easy when we have played 2-3 games, and you've seen the same actions, same matchups, same way of playing defense, same play of running certain plays.
Right.
You should be at high level. You should be able to adjust your refereeing so that your positioning and your criteria meet the demands of the game. That's kind of my idea about that. So but then when you have a regular season game, you need to kind of I would say anticipate and guess a bit more. That that do you have slashers? Do you have shooters? Do you have big guys really battling in the paint? Or do they play zone, for instance? If you have zone, the lead referee should not rotate most likely that much, but the center referee, the trail referee should look for the open angles, maybe from a bit different angles than they normally do. And that's something that I at least take a pride of, that when I'm in the game and I feel that the things which we have discussed in the locker room or what I've thought in my head before the game, and they happen on the court and we get the things done just as we have discussed, that's a great joy. I believe that it's like for the players or for the coaches that they draw up a play and then they really deliver. It's I believe that's the same thing for the referees when that happens. Or even more so if we do the adjustments during the game, that we say, hey, now we need to pay attention to this matchup, or we need to rotate a bit more, and then we start doing that. That's a really thing where we need to kind of celebrate a bit. Share a smile or something like that.
So you gotta know the game a little bit in order to be successful.
Big time. And just to throw a last example, when I was in the BCL or calling the national team games, we do an actual scouting report of the teams. So we go player by player, including the coach. We do the analysis. How do they behave? Are they faking? Are they flopping? Are they going for offensive rebounds? How are they screens normally? And so on. So it is quite on a detailed level. Of course, in Korisliiga, we don't have that time resource that much, but we have, for instance, some external advisors who are doing the player scouting for us now for 3 seasons. So we have scouting report from every player, not only the skill set, but also some attitude stuff. So that has been really helpful, especially in the beginning of the season when you don't
know the players who just came to the league. Yeah, that sounds a great step forward for the refereeing in terms of Korisliiga here. And then I didn't know that in BCL you have these detailed scouting reports. That's also must be a lot of cognitive load for you as well, to take in as a referee. Not on top of you need to know the rules, you need to read the game, you need to communicate, but at the same time you also spend time study and memorize or learn how the people behave on the court.
Sure. But I think that every time when I have discussion on the court with the coach, with the coach or with the player, and I mention somehow that I've seen this play from the clip, I've seen this tendency to do stuff in the clip, or I say that we've done our scouting, I know what you're doing, and the player is like, yeah, okay,
right.
And those are the great feelings, because it's like I'm showing that I respect them by doing my homework, and they respect me saying that, okay, you know your stuff, let's go to the next play, and then we argue on a different stuff. But those are the small things where you can show to the players that, and to the coaches that you respect the game, you've done your homework, not being arrogant, but you can say that, hey, okay, maybe I missed that, but I have scouted and so sometimes letting the players know that, I know what's happening, it's also good.
Right. So do you recommend in general these pre-game chatter with the players and their coaches, nothing extravagant, but just being friendly, setting the tone, saying hi, obviously customary, but do you usually go beyond that?
I like the let's say less is more approach before the game. Even though I know the coaches and the players, and I think I'm quite nice guy off the court,
right?
When I'm serving the role of a referee in Korisliiga, I don't like that much of hang around and shake hands with everyone and do the chatter with everyone. It's hi, have a good game. Maybe if there is something a joke in mind which is connected to the game, why not? But everyone is focused on their own job, so better do less is more. And then coming to the question, there's a high risk that if you go to someone and say before the game that, hey, I watched the tape, you do this and that it just backfires to you. You don't get anything good out of it, and all the homework you did just goes, you have 40 minutes to survive with the player or coach who is irritated to your attitude.
Right.
So better keep it to yourself or to your team, and then use it if that happens in the game.
Again, we come back to friendly but authoritative, confident but not arrogant. That is the attitude that we need to be, like the fine line that we need to walk throughout the game and before the game as well. I'd like to bring us back quickly to criteria question. One of the things that go wrong with the criteria is that if you make the wrong call, you know that you make the wrong call, how do you deal with that? And I'm not even talking about the complaints. Maybe you can touch upon that as well, but rather in your head, how do you come back from that back to the criteria that you decided that you're going to uphold?
When you sent that question and I started thinking it this few days ago, I figured out quite soon that there has been a difference. If we talk Ville Selkee, who is in his 3rd or 4th or 5th season in Korisliiga, for instance, or nowadays, since in the early days, as I said about the empathy, pretty often when I called a foul, and there was some protesting,
right?
I was taught to say, if you miss a call, apologize for that, So right in the beginning, I was taught that if you miss a call, you make a bad call, say I'm sorry, it's gonna be fine. And then I started kind of thinking, because then comes in also the self-criticism. If you want to be a top-flight referee, you really need to have a really high standard for your criteria. It needs to be over 90% of your calls must be correct. when you
Right.
go back and you watch the tape or you show it to someone else, they say, yes, this is a foul. It
Okay.
must be over 90% easily
Right.
at some point of your career.
Mhm.
But it comes, when I say 90, it's good to understand that it's not 100.
Right.
So everyone is asking us to be perfect, but it's
That's
good.
not possible, I guess.
Yeah. But it's good to keep in your mind that it's impossible. If you get a perfect game, you better quit.
Leave at the top, leave at the peak, right?
So kind of nowadays my mindset, and I hope that everyone who listens to this doesn't get this wrong, or doesn't try to draw conclusions which are not correct. But my mindset nowadays is that I want to uphold an excellent standard and get over the 90 limit, but at the same time I accept that I do make mistakes. And that has been a kind of big switch in my mind that has kind of given me some breathing room.
Right.
That I know that during a long period of time, my accuracy is going to be some 90. I don't keep the stats anymore, to be honest. Maybe
Right.
from one single game, I might do stats that how did I really succeed. But I know that over the long period of time, it's going to be some 90. So if I'm, and sorry, this has been a long monologue, but I'm coming to an end. So
no worries. The stage is yours. Go ahead. Yeah.
So at this stage of my career, when I blow the whistle, let's say 99% of the time, I know whether it's a good call or not.
Okay. All right.
So I'm not going to say a play, or anything from the past finals in Korisliiga. I made a call, poof,
Yeah.
and immediately I was like, "The fuck is that?"
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
No, I know the feeling.
And then the player came to me like, "Come on, Ville," and I just signaled the foul, like any foul ever, and I walked away, like showing to the whole arena that was the best call I've made all this season. So now we come to your question: what I do nowadays, what I do. So it's about sometimes apologizing, saying, yes, that was my bad, sorry. Sometimes trying to fake. You need to know the players, you need to know the result, the score of the game, you need to know the time, the overall atmosphere in the game. Sometimes you cannot go and say, I'm sorry.
Right.
You need to even kind of protect your bad call and say that was the best call of the season attitude, because you need to maintain your possession in the game. You need to kind of have the I'm in charge attitude sometimes.
All right.
And then maybe the last one, which is the most difficult and most dangerous, is sometimes to joke. Sometimes. But this is a word of a warning. Sometimes, and you need to know the player. Sometimes you need to I've said this once a season, let's say. That was the best bullshit call of the season.
Okay. To a player.
To the player. So and the player is like, okay, I understand. So
right, you gotta know the player, I see.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
It's about admitting your mistake externally, admitting your mistake or protecting it or trying to avoid any discussion. Those are the things. But inside your mind, you need to kind of say, this was a bad call. You need to have so high standard that you know that this was a bad call. I better make the next one right.
Okay.
The game will tolerate one bad call, but normally 2 bad calls or no calls in a row will cause a chaos.
Right.
So
that's actually very true. Like it's so easy to lose the control of a game, especially if you're not calling like if you're going with the 2 no calls one after another. It's just the whole arena starts to break havoc.
Because that's what we say pretty often in a pre-games, that we might make mistakes and we will make mistakes, but let's not make 2 in a row.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a very important kind of lesson from this. Once you recognize a bad call, then you need to make all the efforts in the world to make sure that you get the next one right, because otherwise it's going to be a snowball effect.
It's about the legs. It's about the legs. When you recognize that I made a bad call or my partner made a bad call, it's about your legs to run a bit faster, to make sure that your position is a bit better than last time. And then it's about this. Anticipating the play, keeping the high focus, but not starting to prejudge. Because what happens pretty often when we make a mistake, we get nervous and then we start being like, no, I'm going to hunt for a call.
Right,
So
right.
at the
True.
same time, you need to raise your awareness, but keep your cool.
Right.
And that's the skill of a referee.
And you think that is something acquired through experience, like,
Of
the
course.
more you know yourself, then you know the game and the rules and everything around it, then you're able to keep your cool better than what it used to be in your early career.
Yeah, and then one thing regarding that is that the next steps when if you want to go higher is that when you realize that, especially if you make a bad no call and the game goes on,
Right.
then you have all the time in the world to keep calling the game, but you need to be ready to communicate with the one who is feeling that now there was a missed call,
Right.
So because for sure when the next pause comes, he or she will be the one in your face that what was that?
Right.
That was not a call. And then you should be already kind of prepared to say something really smart, which is the water to the fire.
Exactly. I like how you're keeping the red thread here, the keeping the fire and de-escalating all the time.
Admitting the mistake, or just saying that I hear you, or something. But if you totally ignore someone who is feeling that now I didn't get the call, most likely you will just put more fuel to the fire, because someone is feeling that he didn't get what he deserved, and now you are even ignoring. So a small something, it might be even gesture saying sorry.
Yeah.
Or then you need to protect your no call, either or something.
Yeah, you gotta address the situation, and I have a memory like that as well. Some Robert Peterson Cup this year, and there is a layup situation. Players are side by side, and the defender, there's a contact on the hip. For some reason, I just didn't feel to me like a foul. Just I went with the no call, but then the player, the player who was attempting the layup turned and committed an unsportsmanlike foul right away. And that's one of those moments where it's you cannot fix a no call with another no call type of thing, otherwise things starts to escalate. And I had to call down sportsmanlike foul, and then I guess what needs to be done, then you go address the situation with the player who was agitated with that missed.
Yeah, and one thing to say for that is that the game, especially at the high level, has changed so much because of two things. It's about the TV production and social media.
Right.
So you don't need to go even to the early 2000s. It was really rare that the game was televised in Finland, especially not in the Europe even. So there was no social media. So basically, we can say that it was fine when everything was happy at the end of the game. So it was totally different ball game than what it is today, because every call should be correct, because if you miss a play, it will be on YouTube and in Twitter and in everywhere.
Yeah.
So you cannot have those makeup calls anymore, because then you will have two wrong calls.
Exactly.
In YouTube, you need to kind of have the attitude that maybe I missed that, but this is a foul, and this meets the criteria for unsportsmanlike foul. And then you need to have the tools to go and say to the guy who most likely got robbed because you didn't call a foul, that you need to go and with some other tools, you need to go and say that, hey, I'm sorry, go to the next play. I didn't have anything on that. Or for me, that was a legal play, but this was unsportsmanlike foul.
Yeah. Like I give that specific example because I think this is exactly what you have said in kind of fast forwarded. Like a player felt like a call was missed, and he was reacting to it right away, like not even a chance to actually, address the situation. But I guess the point is, it's always a good practice to address those situations on the court and not ignore it. And I can vouch for it, my firsthand experience as well. So, Ville, we have been having, 1 hour, 45 minutes conversation. I don't want to take a lot more of your time.
Yep.
Maybe let's end it on a positive note. And you tell me, how do you celebrate your achievements? And how do you kind of, what do you do after a very good game? What is the feeling like?
The higher the stakes, the higher the pressure, and the better you do your job, the the bigger is the difference between the adrenaline right at the end of the game and the feeling in the locker room, you know. And sometimes, as an emotional person as I am, it's pretty close that you burst into tears, because you know you have been 2 hours really in charge, and you are really amped up, and you might sometimes feel that the heart is somewhere here, like a boom, 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 boom.
Right.
And then everyone is happy at the end of the game. Thanks, ref. Good job today. You go to the locker room and you are for a while, and then you are like, oh, what is this feeling? You might get shivers and stuff like that. So that's great. That's like a drug, I must say, and that's the feeling what we are thereafter. So we just want to do our job, and at this level where we are in Korisliiga, or even more so in FIBA, or when I was there, you know when you've done a good job, and you know when you've done a so good job that even though what the game was, you can say that, hey, today maybe the feeling on the court was shitty, but it was not about us. And then even more so, you know that when you screwed up the game, and since you give those moments when you screwed up the game quite somewhere here, that you remember that you do make mistakes and you do have bad games, then when you have the good games, I always tend to say that, hey, now let's celebrate for a while, let's enjoy this feeling, and so on. So you really need to kind of pay respect to good effort of your teammates and yourself. To be honest, that was kind of my message, that being honest with the feelings after the game, and it cannot be that you are always after the game having the same feelings. Good job, hey, let's go.
Yeah,
it must be, if you really put your passion into this, sometimes you might be that, man, we fucked up big time today, but we will bounce back. Right. And sometimes, mostly more often, you must say that we did a really good job today. Thank you, gents. So
acknowledge the situation, acknowledge the feelings, acknowledge the emotions in the locker room, and just be honest with yourself and the team. I like that. And let's make that the last or the final message of this conversation. Thank you very much, Ville. I'm sure, like, I for one learned quite a bit from you, and then it's going to be a fun journey for me to actually edit this and dwell over the messages and hear them over and over again, which is why I'm in this anyway. So it's good.
Yeah, thanks. This was really fun, a nice experience. And if any questions or comments, also I'm also eager to have them afterwards. So for instance, through Twitter or something like that. So yeah.
Right. I'll share this in the platform on a Substack, and I think you are now in there as well, like following the blog. So I guess there will be questions, and if you're there, feel free to engage with the audience as well.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.